Now, here in Nigeria, President Buhari has approved a 60-day extension for people to turn in the old 200 naira banknotes. It's part of a plan to replace the naira with redesigned notes. The old currency was supposed to have been replaced by Saturday, but some banks failed to hand out enough money, triggering widespread protests. The shortage of cash has become a major issue ahead of the presidential elections in just 9 days' time.
During the extended phase of the deadline for currency swap, I listened to invaluable pieces of advice from well-meaning citizens and institutions across the nation. I similarly consulted widely with representatives of the state governors as well as the Council of State. Above all, as an administration that respect the rule of law, I have also noted that the subject matter is before the courts of our land and some pronouncements have been made. To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknote be released back into circulation, and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira note ceases to be legal tender.
President Buhari, well, Arise's political editor, Sambo, joins me now in the studio for more on this. Good to see you, Sumner. So President Buhari, we saw there announcing that he's rowing back on that cash swap scheme, pausing the policy with regard to the 200 naira notes for 60 days. How does that resonate with Nigerians?
Well, it will be some sort of succor, but we do not know if the central bank has enough of the 200 naira notes to be able to go around within this 60 days, but I can tell you there's some sort of succor, and it's a bad message to actually some of the political elites in the country who may have ordered the 1,000 naira and then 500 naira notes in anticipation that the old and new notes will go side by side ahead of next Saturday's presidential election. And so as it stands right now, the policy has been receiving mixed reactions. Nigerians are a little bit relieved, especially with the statement by the central bank governor after visiting President Buhari at the State House today, where he said he had met with some 15 bank chiefs, and the bank executives assured him that, of course, the circulation of the 200 naira notes will begin immediately, and he had ordered them to start circulating the 200 naira notes so that there will be some relief. Because if you look at the streets, it's actually those who are petty traders, those who are within the income bracket of like about 1,000 naira to 500,000 naira deposit in banks that are actually in need of this cash.
And this was meant to help ease electoral corruption. You touched on that briefly now, at least partly. I mean, with just 1 week to go before the ballot, how do you reckon things will go as far as vote buying is concerned?
President Buhari had referenced that in his speech, where he has said that from the outset of the policy last year up until now, that the policy seems to be returning some good results, because those who are thought that they will use the monies that they are stockpiled to actually use it for vote buying seem to be afraid right now, because it means those monies, especially the 500 naira and 1,000 naira bills, will no longer be in circulation. They'll have to be mopped up, and the other ones are yet to be sent to central bank. Of course, there's a window for you to return it back, and that there's a positive review that he's receiving about that those who believe in money politics will understand now that it has to be one man, one vote. And of course, this will help to clean up, the audience table, where we've always seen, money is being used to actually drive the electoral process, especially on election day. And so while the president is very optimistic about this, I think it also calls for public review. Do we think that this indeed will also not improve the desires of the political class who want to look for several ways to manipulate the process, because we hear that cash vouchers are actually being prepared, some sort of little cards that they give to you where
like
you actually
IOUs.
Yeah, like IOUs. I mean, just like the way it's done in the US system, so that when you have that, you can actually just put in your details, and somehow you have like 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira being credited to your account. If that happens through other payment methods other than using cash, then the aim would itself have been defeated. But I can tell you that the political class is not sleepy, especially those in the governing party who are opposed to the president's desire. And there was this political theatrics ongoing just a few moments before I came here, where the spokesperson of the Governor of Progressive Congress candidate, Bayo Noga, was saying that, look, President Buhari owes the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu to ensure that he returns some goodwill back to Bola Tinubu by ensuring that he wins the election. Quoting a verse in the Quran and saying that he should not be starved of currency, while the candidate of the, spokesman of the PDP presidential candidate, the main opposition party's candidate, replied him using a Quran verse and saying that, look, President Buhari only owes him support if he has done good deeds, and not to, quote, corruptly enrich the electorate ahead of the election.
That's a very interesting development.
That's sort of like telling us what the thinking within the inner circle of the political class.
But in the context of what you're just telling us, do you think all this will affect the ruling party's popularity, given that it appears to have conceded defeat? First of all, I mean, it's associated with President Buhari, conceded defeat on this policy and has had to put pause on it, because, I mean, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate, opposes the policy.
Charles, the ruling party's candidate is feeling the heat. And coincidentally, unlike what we usually see previously within the Nigerian political class, we've seen the opposition governors of the PDP backing a policy by the APC-led president.
Absolutely.
While the governors of the All Progressives Congress, the governing party, opposing a policy by their own president. So there's this thinking within the inner circles of the APC presidential candidate that President Buhari is not doing enough to support the APC candidate, and that it looks like the presidency is already preparing for a defeat of the governing party's candidate. And if this is the thinking, then I mean, there's a lot that's going on, and the candidate will definitely be feeling the heat because there's this thinking actually that he has money stockpiled somewhere and all of that, though he has proved over time that that's not the case. But why does it look like it's the governing party's candidate and the governors that are shouting more? So something is actually wrong somewhere.
That's a very interesting assessment, and it's all jolly fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, just a few days to the election, it looks like the governing party is unstable, they are feeling the heat, and it should have been the opposition, that the main opposition, or the other ones like Labour Party or NNPP. But it tells us here that President Buhari himself has shown that he wouldn't favor anyone irrespective of his party, and that is not sitting well with Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his team. And of course, they are right to actually be angry. Why shouldn't the president, design certain policies that will seem to promote his party and the governing party's candidate? Well, these are questions that we'll have to answer after Election Day on February 25th.
We'll have to wait to see how it plays out. Sumner, thank you very much indeed. Sumner Sambo, Arises Political Editor.